Aaron does, I mean.
Welcome to the Reloading Podcast. You're on the Firearms Radio Network. I want to take time to thank Jim and Jason for showing up. Welcome to the Reloading Podcast. You're on the Firearms Radio Network.
Oh, boy. Jim forgot to mute his computer.
Thank Jim and Jason.
Nice feedback.
So I can have editing time. I'm just going to do the intro again. Good evening. Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. Take time to thank Flemmy there and Jim for showing up.
You can both kiss my butt.
So
I deserve that.
On a serious note, want to take time. I seriously want to thank Jim and Jason for doing everything awesome. We've all got lives and everything and going on. And the fact that we can get together every week and do this is pretty awesome and pretty darn special. So, also want to thank Jake and Ryan over at the Patriot Patch Company for our awesome patches. We now have to order a new back-to-back World War Champs because unfortunately one of the kids knocked my hat down that had the patch on it, and the lab found the hat in the patch. Yeah. Oops. He likes chewing things a lot.
Yep.
So, but that's one of the bonuses about being a Patch of the Club member. I can patches that I may have done. Where am I missing? There. Yeah. Also, want to take time to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for giving us a place to host these shenanigans every week. It's been an awesome ride, and it continues to be. So don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Unfortunately, as of show recording, which is 7:09 on May 29th, the episode 204 has not posted yet because I've been on puppy sitting duty. As you find out when I do release the episode. So in between keeping the puppy calm, but be able to keep a 6-month-old lab puppy calm is nuts. All right. They're off the rocker and they need medication. So, unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of time to edit, but it's been a bear because I'm trying to take out as much of Ollie's appearance in the show as possible. And those of you who listened live know Ollie was a very, very prominent person in the show last week. So, luckily, a lot of it, we had silence when we weren't speaking and trying to talk over the dog. So that's made it easier, but it's still just trying to get as much of it gone as possible. And it's taking a lot longer to edit than it normally would. So sorry about that. We didn't say anything in the last episode. We probably should have since it was before, but obviously at this point in time, it doesn't matter because the show didn't post. But I want to take time to honor the sacrifice of all the men and women in the armed forces that have given their lives for our freedoms. You can't say thank you enough to the Gold Star families and to I just look forward to someday meeting them in heaven, being able to say thank you to them. So, all the way back to the Revolutionary War, there's millions of men and women that have given their lives for this country and for the Constitution, and just thank them and thank their families. Okay. So, Jim and Jason. Jim, what you been doing?
More of the same, working on my shelving, trying to get my reloading equipment unburied.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do a thing yesterday or today. Yesterday was because of the holiday, and today because of the show. I need to take some lumber back to Lowe's to exchange it for longer lumber. Just working on it as I can.
Yep. Jason?
Matt and Pete invited me out to the desert this weekend to go shoot some long range. And Kathy's car came up sick. And I think it might be serious sick. And I can't leave. If I take the spare truck, I can't just leave her with my work truck to drive her around. So I contacted him the other day, told him what was going on, told him I probably won't be going. But that's it. I still haven't shot those test loads for my 6.5 yet. I got to get out there one of these days. I'm jonesing to go shoot. But that's it for me.
Well, I went and collected my bounty from the auction that I won. So here is the Redding powder. It is the Master Powder Measure model number. It's universal. Yeah, I even got the box. So I'm going to send this out to Jason and let Jason play with it. And then we're going to give it away. Lucky Patriot.
You mean I got to give it up?
Yep.
What if I like it?
I guess you're just going to have to buy your own.
Maybe I can't afford to buy my own if I have to work on my wife's car.
This is true. It's tough to. Yeah, that's no fun. So one of the other things that I won giveaway is the Hornady. They packaged together, so it was a Hornady primer turning plate, also known as a primer flipper, depending on who. Basically, it's just got little grooves, and then as the primer slide along, the edge catches and it puts it then smooth side down. So and then to go with that, a brand new style Fancy Dancy Lee Auto Prime. This is the brand new style. So it's got the newer style holder. It's completely redesigned, really. It's got completely different hardware and everything. So it's pretty fancy. So whereas the old style used to have like the spring and stuff, everything's contained in this little unit, and then the primers just feed in like so.
Where's the upper half of that? The white object, the white triangular object. Where's the upper half of that?
That's the primer tray.
Oh, it flips open on a hinge?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's got you. Basically, it's constituted. It looks like this.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see it in action before I go out and spend money.
Yeah, I'll shoot some video. So yeah, it's so yeah, we'll shoot some video on that, and
who knows? Maybe it retrofits into my style.
What's that?
I have the newer style Auto Prime. You know, the one with the diamond-shaped primer tray. Yeah. Maybe it retrofits into that. I'll have to find out.
That's an interesting thought. It'd be interesting to find out. So yeah, that was all the goodies. The other thing is I want to say a shout out to Mike, podcast listener, and also one of the Patreons for We Like Shooting. And one of the things he did for all of us who are donating to Project 150 is he made us a little patch to go on, whatever you want to put it on, that says Project 150. For those who don't know what Project 150 is, it is a program that was suggested to us by a couple of people. Well, not to me, but suggested by a couple of people to Sean and the gang over at We Like Shooting, and then they ran with it. And basically what it is over the course of 5 years, we're going to be giving away 150. The goal is 150 one-year memberships to the NRA, getting people involved, and then with that intent of them becoming your 5-year voting members or life members to be able to vote, so we can take back the NRA. That's kind of it's the long-term goal. We know that taking the NRA back isn't going to be a shortcut. We can't have a Cincinnati 77, for those of you who know the history of the NRA. They changed the bylaws and changed the rules, so it's impossible to do. So the only real way to get change in the NRA is to vote in board members that are actually going to care, that are actually going to show up to meetings, that are actually going to listen to the members, and then work on recruiting new members that aren't old, fat, and white and deer hunters, because that's who the NRA caters to right now, as most of us know, and that needs to change. The only way that's going to change is if the rest of us get involved. So that's where Project 150 came about. And Jim and I are now donating to it. It's going to be a long-term investment to really get the NRA back to where it should be and what it was originally meant to be, which is a Second Amendment supporting organization for all in the Second Amendment, not just deer hunters, because there's nothing about hunting in those 26 words.
One thing I have to say about the Second Amendment, it does say the right to keep and bear arms. The word arms is important.
Mm-hmm.
And please understand, too, this also, and at the time the Second Amendment was created and written, you guys need to understand firearms weren't the only sort of weapons that were in use. They were using edged weapons, too, gentlemen. Knives, swords, spears, blades.
Hatchets, axes, tomahawks.
Exactly. All sorts of edged weapons.
Oh, and by the way, they had cannons.
Yep, that too.
Private citizens own cannons and own ships of war, shall we say. Armed ships. It wasn't just a musket. It was about... So Aaron says, I think he was talking about the new Auto Prime. He said that's what he's got. Put a little Vaseline on the hinges and now it works great. So, and yeah, it's just basically lubricating it. So, all right. So tonight we're going to talk about waging primer pockets. So, why do we need to swage primer pockets?
Well, if you're using commercial brush, you don't have to. Not true. That's not true. I know quite a bit of federal brass has got crimp primers. Oh, geez, I gave it away.
So, I don't have commercial 223 brass. I've got this. This is a collection from a while ago, and this was definitely not.
I thought I saw machine gun links.
Commercial.
Yeah.
So, if you can, yes, that's heavy. All right.
There we go.
Until you talked. No. Now I lock the camera. Come on. Is it bad? I just want to go. Figures. You get it focused.
There. Oh.
Killing me, Smalls. There we go.
There we go.
So that little primer, and some of these may just be sealed.
You got a hangnail, Mike?
I don't think so. Maybe on this finger. I'll have to treat it later. So some of this is FC brass, and then some of it is IMI. Like this one. With an ejector ding. Ding! But that'll buff right out.
It will. It'll pop right up.
Maybe. It might have a little crease in it. I don't know. We'll find out. So, what are we going to do first?
Well, why do we have to decrimp cases? Or, excuse me. Why do we have to swage primer pockets?
Because new primers won't fit. Because when they crimp a primer in, essentially it's like snap. And so anybody who's put an AR together, when you put the stock on, you put the buffer tube nut, you have to actually put essentially a crimp into the nut to get it so it doesn't back off. And there's quite a few other things. Some of your tie rods and ball joints have nuts like that. Some of your CV axles have nuts like that from the automotive world, where you'll take a punch, and when you get it set, then you take your punch and you put it on a certain spot in the nut and you hit it. That's the point of the crimp on the primer. So that way, especially if you've got a belt of 250 and you're feeding it into your 249 and it's popping off and it's vibrating everything and the rounds are bouncing all over the place, you don't have to worry about a primer popping out and all of a sudden you have a misfire. You don't need a misfire in the middle of a battle. So tonight, we're going to talk about how to deal with that. So what are we going to do first?
You got to decap your brass.
All right. So we can do one of two things. First, I'm going to move the camera. You can see better. Ooh, look at that. It's a green press. Where did that thing come from? Somebody got a different press on the bench. That's right. I finally put the rock chucker up.
One of the best single stage pressures out there.
Mm-hmm. Nice and beefy. Okay, so you can do one of two things. You can either take your regular set of dies, and I grabbed the Lees because they're on top. Hornadays are buried. Dies. So you can By the way, here's a trick for everybody. If you didn't know. On the Lee boxes like this, they've got this little tab. There's a little slot cut into here. So if you're going to be in and out of the die box, you can put it so it comes off easy. If it's going to be a while, you flip the cover around and then lock it down. Now, in case you're wondering why Lee die boxes are a pain in the butt to get into. I did that on purpose. All right. So you can take your regular sizing die with your decapping pen. Decap it. But what's the problem with that? What do we have to do to the brass before we can do that?
Shoot it.
It's already been shot. So I'm just interested in swaging right now. That's all I want to do. So what you want to do is you can either lube all this by putting it in a lovely bench block, or using Imperial sizing die wax. Well, this camera is not playing nice tonight. There we go. So I could lube it all up with this, or I could use Hornady One Shot, or the Lee lube, or the RCBS lube, or various other lubes, and lube these all up. Or what's another option, guys?
Universal decapping die, or decapping die.
I just happen to have one of those.
Oh my!
So
those will decap just about everything from 4570 all the way down to 25 ECP.
So why is this die so special? No. Inside, we'll grab our 223 die and put it right next to it. Notice how there's a lot difference in size. And that's literally made so you can run anything up into it without a problem. And not have to use any lube. Now, of course, some may know there's a little bevel here. That's because I don't have RCBS shell holders. I'm using my Lee shell holders, which are slightly smaller than the RCBS RAM. Will it be a problem? No, because it still centers. So just like before, I'm going to run the RAM all the way up. So the one thing I forgot to do when I mounted this in my little Lee bench is I forgot to check and see if the lever would run all the way up.
Oopsie.
I'll have to do some modification to the bench.
I used the wood rasp to make sure I had enough clearance for the handle knuckle.
Yeah, that's what's catching. So.
Yep. I could tell.
Yeah, well. So what you want to do normally is you would go ahead and do that. And then you can run your handle up. But obviously I have to do a little modification to the undercarriage here. Oh, we're going to have to do that later. I don't think everybody wants to see me whip out a Sawzall right now. So what I'm going to do instead is throw the Lee back up. And this is the nice thing about this setup. Is it comes off pretty easy. Now, one of the things I did have to do, because the RCBS is a little longer than the Lee, actually, the way that Lee holds the press in is they use a pin in here in the plate. You can see the holes. So because this is a longer, and I wanted to get it as even as possible, what I did is actually put the pin in first and then put the press on top of it. But the nice thing is the way that Lee makes this bench block is it works just fine. Because they've got little brackets that hold. And I just undo the bracket. I suppose if I adjusted the camera, you could actually see what I'm doing. I'll just put my little screws back in.
That's got to be the fastest press swap I've ever seen in my life.
I like it.
You should.
Take your pin and put it down in there. So ta-da. So now, what I'm going to do is I got to switch out the show holder on this because this one is for caliber. So I grabbed my universal show holder kit. I didn't have to do this with the RCBS because I just grabbed the one out of the 223 lead eyes. I was cheating. Then I grab the directions and I look, and it's a number 4. Now, and all these shell holders fit at least 2 or 3 different calibers. So, and just like before, as I showed you in previous episodes, run the RAM up a little bit, slide the shell holder in, and away you go. So now I grab my university capping die. So run that press all the way up. Tighten that all the way down.
Mike, can you aim the camera at the top of the press, please?
Yep. I just need a PTZ camera.
Good. Thank you, sir.
So as you can see, that gap's disappearing. I want to make that gap go all the way. Then I'm going to run the press down. I give it another quarter turn. And then I can just finger tighten this. And Daryl said in the chat, he says he uses the Frankfurt Arsenal decapping tool because that way he doesn't have to run his dirty brass through his dies. That's kind of why I got the decapping die. One is that way I don't have to. It's all going through the decapping die, and it really doesn't make a difference. If I ever do get something in there that's actually big enough to dirty it, then a little brake cleaner and away I go.
The Frankfurt Arsenal, is that the caulking gun looking tool?
Yeah.
I think Hookem had one of those, didn't he?
Yep, I think so.
Pretty sure he still does.
So you can sit in the bar and decap brass.
Right. That's got to get some weird looks.
Well, I bet he gets weird looks anyway. It's Hookem after all.
Yes, it is. All right. See if I can make a mount for it. As most people know, you kind of come up with your best ideas. That's sweet. Right? Yes, no, maybe. Any comments? Jason?
Hmm?
I said usually your best ideas on the fly.
Oh, absolutely.
We're gonna see if we can't make a quick thing. All right. Find out. There we go. So as we look into this,
I see a razor sharp edge,
yeah, that's from the
sort of coppery colored,
Yep.
from the primer sealant that they had on the case.
Yep.
It's Israeli military industries brass, and it's also been subjected to some high pressure too. Look at that ejector swipe.
Yeah. Well, this one was machine gun brass, so
Yeah.
that was more because this is factory brass, so I think it was more just coming out of the machine gun than anything.
Yep.
This was out of a Negev.
IMI.
Yeah.
Good job with the camera, though, Mike.
Thank you. But that
that razor sharp edge is what we were talking about, guys. Mike has just decapped a rounded military brass, and that's what the show's about tonight: is how to remove that sharp edge.
interesting. All right, so once again, capping pin decided it wants to work its way up. So what we need to do, find the right size wrench, and I grab the wrenches. Okay, much better. Grab a bigger set. Never fails. I spend all this time getting prepped, and it's all jacked up anyway. So what happened, folks, is the capping pin pushed back up. As you can see, the little knob here is high, and Lee puts that in as a feature. So theoretically, don't break the decapping pin. What you have to do is get 2 wrenches, and then loosen it up, and then reset it. And this is always fun because you got to figure out how to get tension while it's turning. So, because as you'll notice, the die is just spinning.
Lock up your lock ring tighter, Mike.
Yeah, I know. I got to grab a channel locks because the wrench is big.
Yep. Yep. What's happening with this die, guys, is the fact that Mike is having trouble. Something inside the case pushed the decapping pin up a little bit, and he's trying to readjust it to factory correct. He's got to get a big enough wrench to lock up the lock nut directly on top of the red press, so he can anchor that thing down, and then tighten up on the sliding sleeve nut that holds his decapping spindle assembly in place. And the poor guy's trying to find the right wrench. Crescent wrench or a pair of channel locks, Mike. I know you're going crazy trying to find the right tool that'll do it. And if it's not a crescent wrench or a proper wrench, guys, it's not the right wrench to do it. But we all do it. We use what we have. I've actually made my own nuts or my own wrenches to fit that nut that Mike's tightening up right now.
So basically what it is it wasn't in the toolbox it's supposed to be in. Somebody put it in with the big boys. I got a couple toolboxes. One's the regular size stuff, and then one's the bigger crap for working on heavier duty trucks and farm equipment and crap like that. So, So since I have adjusted my setting, what I need to do is start over on my die setup. Normally I can finger tighten them and it's not a problem. If the decapping pin wouldn't have pushed through, it wouldn't have been an issue, but it did. So, but the nice thing is now that the die is actually tight, shouldn't need the second wrench. And as you can kind of see, you see the decapping pin disappear. And you can see it in there. That's what you want. You actually want the bottom of the decapping pin to disappear into the shell holder. Then you know you're getting a good punch.
There, his decapping spindle slid again. Did the primer come out, Mike?
Nope.
But that crimson primer actually moved his decapping spindle upward again.
Yep.
Don't loosen it, Mike. If I were you, I'd take a rubber mallet, dead blow mallet, and just tap it right back down the way it should be, and then tighten up, snug up on that sliding sleeve nut a little bit more. Mike's trying to be gentle with his equipment, but sometimes you have to be a little tiny bit more persuasive. That's just a soft blow hammer, that's all.
Yep.
Now tighten up that split nut just a tad bit more. Good deal. Hopefully it doesn't slide again.
Not
yep.
this.
Yep, perfect.
All right, so here's what this one looks like. I quit bouncing it around.
There's that sharp edge again, guys.
Yep. So can I go ahead and swage it? Or, I mean, can I go ahead and put a new primer in it?
Well, there's 2 or 3 different ways of removing that crimp, but you wanted me to talk about swaging tonight.
Yep.
To answer your question, no, you cannot.
What happens?
You will screw up your primer.
Okay. That's all, though?
I think it would be more possible to pop your primer.
Okay.
I haven't had it happen yet, but I would think with that much force, it is possible. Usually what I do is peel the sides a little bit and flatten the top.
I've had a primer go off when I reload. It's not fun. In fact, it's rather scary. Had it happened to me, I think 3, maybe 4 times.
So, Jason, are you using a swager when you're doing that, or are you using something else?
I've tried a few different things. I've tried 2 different swagers, which I really like. And I've also tried the chamfering tool, which worked well. But the swagers that I have actually work on a press, and they're a little bit faster.
So what you're saying is you used this
Yes, sir.
to take out the crimp.
Yes, sir.
What about a reamer? Would that work? Primer pocket reamer?
Is that the uniformer?
Yeah, it's the one that's part of the kit from.
If it's the same one I'm thinking of, Mike, it kind of works, but the opening to the primer pocket is still sharp, and if everything isn't just perfect, you will have issues.
Okay. So what I'm doing now, just so everybody wants to know, as I'm doing this, which doesn't really do much. It takes out a little bit of metal, but nothing serious. What Jason does, now do you just run it in like this, Jason, and then turn it?
Yes, sir.
And how many times do you turn it?
Mine's on an electric tool prep tool, probably 3 times. Not very long.
Okay, so just a quick blip, kind of until it's smooth.
Yep.
Okay. See, this is the problem with having brass lay all over the place, kids, is you don't remember which ones are which. So you never grab the right one. So that's why loading blocks are important. So if you put all your brass in a loading block, it makes it easier to find the ones you're looking for. So here, to show you, this is that same Negev. And you can see the sharp edge is kind of gone.
In fact, Mike, what you've done is create a sort of funnel effect to help ease the primer into the pocket.
Yep.
A chamfer.
Yes.
So. All right. What's next?
It's Boo Boo's bedtime. He's getting sleepy and yawning on camera.
Sorry about my headphones. What'd you say?
Nothing.
Bye something or other?
It's fine. No, I didn't say nothing.
Smart aleck.
And Jim didn't flip me off, so don't worry about any of that.
Was Jim giving you the one salute again?
Uh-huh.
So Daryl, you're saying that you use this. Is this what you use there?
That's
it.
What he's saying.
Primer pocket swaging tool.
All right. Oh, by the way, the bits here are from the Lyman case prep. That's kind of, and the tool is the precision prep tool from the same people that make World's Finest Trimmer.
Little Crow Gun Works.
That's right. Out of Minnesota. So Tony wants to know. He wants to know, can you remove too much material and what issues would that cause? Absolutely, you can remove too much material and your primer is going to fall back out. So that's the very minimum. Your primer is going to fall back out. Worst case is the primer actually stays in there long enough to ignite, and then you get gas blowback. So, lower pressure could result in a squib because all the pressure isn't pushing the bullet forward anymore. It's now pushing the bolt back, and that's not a good situation. Okay, so I'm going to pop the primers out of the rest of these here quick. Then,
Mike, I kind of think I want to disagree with you.
Okay, disagree with me.
If your bolt is locked, how can the primer back out at the moment of ignition?
Simple, Jason, just like a balloon. Think of a balloon. Simple analogy. Same exact thing. And what happens is the rearward force is a shearing action, shearing pressure on the lugs of your AR-15 or your 700 or whatever. It's sort of a shearing action. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Well, how can it happen during the moment of ignition? It's because, you know, the pressure is like, it affects everything just like a balloon affects everything. A balloon in a bottle affects the walls of the bottle. It'll completely fill out the walls of the bottle until, you know, unless there's air trapped between the corners of the balloon or the bottle and the walls of the balloon. And if your material that's containing that pressure chamber isn't substantial enough, it will damage something.
In a 223, it's not going to have enough pressure to, frankly, well,
I beg to differ with that.
It's going to shove the bolt back. I don't think it's going to have enough. In my opinion, I do not think that a 223 would generate enough pressure to destroy the bolt in case of primer failure. That is my uneducated opinion. So,
isn't 223 still like 55,000 psi?
Absolutely, Jason.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
Sorry, Mike. Didn't mean to sound disrespectful.
Nope, I did that on purpose.
Yeah, you did. You hate Mike.
Just like I hate you. Just like I hate you is why I podcast to you every week, you bastard.
I don't want people thinking that just because it's a smaller size cartridge, it's any less dangerous.
Right.
So that's why I did that. Yeah. I know that 223s actually can generate as much pressure as a 308 or a 30X.
You bet.
Or a 300 ROM. So.
You bet.
So yeah, just because this is a smaller piece of brass doesn't mean it's any less dangerous. So what happens, Jason? What you wanted to know is it's not going to necessarily blow the primer completely out of the pocket, but it's going to shoot it around it, kind of like gas cutting.
Yes.
Bullet. But I honestly don't know your point of enough pressure to destroy the bolt, the locking lugs and stuff. I don't think so. It's possible. Anything's possible when a cartridge goes bad. It depends on where that squib stops. That's the key. If it generates just enough pressure to move that bullet just onto the lands and grooves and not down the rifling very far, entirely possible.
Right. Okay.
I have another point about destruction of the bolt face.
Right.
Guys, have you ever looked at the bolt face and ever seen any gas cutting in your bolt face? You know, little black pinpoints?
Uh-uh.
I have. And that's from loading hot loads, too hot. But anyway, the point is, Jason, when that gas leaks backward, it's not just gas, it's a flame coming back out into the bolt face. You follow me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of like an oxyacetylene torch. Yeah,
Right.
okay, fine. You don't have the duration and length of the flame, but you know what? It's still just as hot. And it would be destructive that way to the face of the bolt.
Okay.
I mean, it's
has anyone ever seen a blown primer? Well, we all have if we reload and we don't do it carefully, and we wind up with a hot load or something like that, and all which I've done. unintentionally, albeit, but still, it happens, and that will damage the bolt face of your rifle too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, handgun, whatever. Usually, you don't run into that in handgun ammunition because the pressure is nowhere near as high as it is with rifle ammo.
Yeah. So, Daryl said if a primer comes out on an AR-type rifle, the primer can actually stop your gun completely.
You bet.
Yes, it can.
Uh-huh. So.
Been there, done that.
That would suck. Okay, so I got this bag of stuff. What do I do?
Okay. First thing, Mike, is you got to look at the plungers that are inside there that actually snap into the press. They look like shell holders in reverse.
Okay.
Take one out.
Figures I changed it into company shorts and I don't have my blade on me.
Do you happen to have your dial calipers handy or your digital calipers handy?
Nah, they're over there under some other crap.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to camera dump everything out of the bag. Make sure you do this in a area where not everything is going to go all over the place. So I have a cup, goofy looking thingy, and another goofy looking thingy, and a nut, and I'm guessing a couple of swaging rods. And then back in the box, my body. All right.
All right. Mike, look at the two thingamabobs, as you call them, the thingies, swager thingies. They should look nearly identical, but there is one important difference.
Diameter.
The diameter of the button that goes up into your pocket. Hold that up so that you can see it from the camera, if you would, please.
Okay. So we
hold the two together, please.
Yep. So we have two different diameters.
Right. One's large rifle, one's small rifle. Small primer, large primer, I should say.
So what you're saying is I need to pop the shell holder out.
Right.
And put this in its place.
Mm-hmm.
Using RCS on a Lee. Oh, terrible. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay. Now, Mike, the cup that you have goes right over top of that.
This cup?
That cup.
Like that?
No, of course it doesn't go like that. That's your strip. That's actually your case stripper. Now, if you actually lift up the handle, that thing should, yep, right there, just appear like nice as you please. That's the way it will work eventually.
Okay.
All right, now take your die body.
Die body?
Nope, don't put it in there yet. Take one of those. You should have two rods that are threaded, nearly completely threaded.
Yep.
One's smaller than the other because you're going inside that 223 case. You're going to need a smaller rod.
Okay.
Put the threaded end up inside the die body first. Excuse me while I clear my throat.
So I just kind of screw it in like this?
Yeah, screw it in all the way.
All the way? Okay.
All the way.
So it's flush?
No, all the way. What'll happen is when you start having threads protrude out the other end, you grab a hold of it and you just keep pulling the threads out.
Okay. Till it's
okay. Now put that nut that you have on it and run it all the way down.
Okay.
Okay. Mike, just for example, don't dismantle your press, but pick up that other button and I want you to show me the meeting of the two parts inside the case. That's exactly what's going to happen, guys, except the case will be in between. Now, Mike's got that adjusted pretty far out there. That's what I told him to do. Right, just like that. Just like that is what's going to happen. Except, of course, remember, he's got the large button there. He's got the small button in the press.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Now, screw that die body down some, Mike. In fact, you can stop right there, raise your press handle all the way up. Okay. I think you need to put the case in that one. The case on the button. Right. Be careful now. It will pinch and bite. You have to get that up inside that spindle. There you go. Looks like you have it. Okay. Run your press handle all the way down. Now keep screwing your die body down. Right. Very good, Mike. Now it should meet, and you should eventually see something start to move. Okay. Now put a little pressure, just a little pressure back up on that case. There you go. It should be, sooner or later, you're going to meet a point of where something's going to go. All right, now lift up on your handle a little bit to lower the ram. Now turn your die body in about a quarter of a turn, Mike. Just a quarter of a turn. Now raise your handle back, push your handle back down. You should feel metal. You should feel that button start to go inside that case. Now there you go. Perfect. Perfect. Did it move the metal? Not remove it like a cutting tool, but did it move it aside? It should create a little gentle radius at the mouth of the case. If it doesn't, you just have to adjust the die body down a little tiny bit more. I learned when I was doing that, I learned to put the case up inside the die body first. That's right. It's supposed to stick, Mike. You're actually moving metal. Did it create a bit of a radius? Did it create enough of a radius? That's the real question.
Well, I'm going to show you, and you can tell me.
I would say no, because I still see that razor sharp edge on the left side of the screen.
Okay.
You might have to put a little bit more metal into that, or a little bit more force into that. Be careful now. You're dealing with some serious pressures. You just want. Yep. There you go. That's the way to do it. Okay, hold your case before you strip it off. Right. You put a good bit of force on that. I would say you probably have it as far as it's going to go.
So that's.
I see the radius, but there's still that razor sharp edge on the left, right around your index finger.
Okay.
You know what? There's a simple answer to this. Try seating a primer. Just one primer. Okay, Mike, are you bottoming it out against the case, or are you bottoming out against the pin inside? Daryl Guyton's got a good point. Are you bottoming it out on the spindle inside, or are you bottoming out on the body of the case?
How do you tell?
Well, is your stripper going against the case itself? Doesn't look like it. I see some daylight. There. Are you putting the stripper up against the bottom of that case or a die body?
Not really.
Okay, I didn't think you were. So you are pushing it up against that spindle. Good. Now, can you show me that case? Can you show me that case again?
Yep.
Don't adjust anything just yet, Mike.
Nope.
Show me that case mouth again, or the primer pocket mouth again. You've moved some metal. I think you should be able to see the primer in that.
Okay.
I see a radius on that.
Oh, I don't know if they have any 2-3 primers right now. That's a good question. So you talk for a second, Jim, and I'll look.
Well, I was going to suggest another alternative. Take the button out of the press and see how it looks up inside the primer pocket. Because that button, you're not going to change the diameter of that button.
There's still some gap on that button.
No, don't do that, Mike. Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. You will hate life.
Yeah, I know. I'll get it stuck. So.
Yeah, you always, anytime you go up into the die body, always have that stripping cup on there.
As I torque on it, it is hitting that die.
Okay, then if that's the case, then Mike, loosen the upper nut, the nut up on top.
Yep.
And lower the pressure spindle down about a half turn.
Okay. Did that.
Bear in mind, you're creating enough pressure now to bend something, so be very, very careful. Right. Okay, that's enough pressure. You're actually moving your press around. Daryl Guyton just said the bottom of the pin is supposed to be even with the bottom of the die body per the RCBS instructions.
Okay, well, it's not.
It's been so long since I had instructions for my I didn't even get them. I didn't even get instructions with my RCBS primer pocket swage kit.
Okay, so now it's even.
Gently now, gently.
And so now, that's what it looks like.
Can't see it.
Yep.
There we go. Now you've got a nice round. See how the metal's rolled around there where it says FC?
Yeah.
Okay, see how the metal's rolled around? It should be like that around the whole periphery of the primer pocket.
Kind of like you're belling the case.
Sort of. Sort of. You're belling the primer pocket.
Right.
Good job on the instruction, Daryl. Thank you.
So now if this is what it looks like set up before I squeeze it, you can see.
That's a fresh, unswaged case, correct?
So you can see the space in between. And now you see the space disappear. So this is the second one.
Can't make it out, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, I got another hand in here to try and hold it still.
Do I see metal down inside the primer cup, primer pocket? Metal on the wall, there by the tube?
It's just a reflection. This camera has a light on it. So it's just a reflection.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually look at it, and it does not.
Wow.
All right.
That looks better.
Yeah. So, and just
not quite so much magnification.
Yeah. And just like everything else, when you're using the loading block, make sure you put your completed ones on one end and your uncompleted on the other. That way you keep it all separate. It's just like the really bad song from the 80s that won't go away. Obliterated. Actually, I think that was from the 90s, sorry. Aha. So there's another Daryl. He says, don't full length size before you swage because the swage pin will not go into the case after resizing.
Well, Daryl, that's great, except that's why they make the smaller diameter pin. And the second thing is, most of us don't own universal decapping dies, and then we have to full length resize just to decap the case. So you got to work with it either way. You know, I'm not saying Daryl's wrong because he's not. That would help if you could, but sometimes you know, like when I first started out, I've had to full length resize just to knock the primer out of the pocket.
Yep. Now, in all honesty, the Lee universal decapping die is about $10.
Right. Nowadays, yeah, I have one now. I'm talking about back when I first started.
A lot more cost effective than the. No. But yeah, the key is just grab the brass before you pop it.
Right. Your hands will learn. Just don't pinch yourself. It will hurt.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't swaged primer pockets for quite a while. And there is no difference in the method between large pockets and small pockets. The only difference is you pull that smaller spindle out of that die body because the larger rod is a full 250 diameter.
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind is if your neck isn't completely round, it is going to be a little bit of a pain. As that anybody saw that last one, it is a little bit of a pain to get it to go on. So sometimes you got to wiggle it a little bit just to get it to go.
Well, that might be something to do with a bent case mouth or something like that, which is easy enough to open up with a pencil or something pointed like a long drift punch.
Yep. All right, folks. So that's swaging primer pockets.
Is it worth the effort, Mike?
The brass was free, so yeah.
That's my answer. That's my story, and I'll stick with it.
And in case nobody was paying attention when I hauled that tub up earlier,
that's free brass?
That's a little bit of free brass.
So the point is, now when Mike gets done with that, that's one thing. It's a one-time operation only. When he swages that pocket, he doesn't have to swage it again next time around.
Guess what else? That's a pretty simple operation. My children can do it.
You know what? I don't see a thing wrong with young men that are wanting to shoot to earn their keep, and pay their dues.
Yep.
Besides that, you want to make it worth their while? Sure. Offer them $10 to do 1,000. That's a penny a case.
Yep. Oh, and the swaging tool was under $20.
You couldn't buy that brass used from a brass dealer for that much money. Any idea how much brass you have there, Mike?
No. I have no idea.
I'll bet you 2K.
Yeah, I would say somewhere around that.
You can't touch that for less than $100.
Yeah. So, especially IWI or IMI or whatever.
Yeah, IMI.
IMI. Some of it's federal, but even the federal military stuff's pretty good. Because it is all machine gun stuff, so.
Nothing like a buzzsaw.
That's right. So now, being that it's from a machine gun, the heads up I'm going to give everybody is when you go to size this stuff, it's going to be a little more difficult. Because unlike a normal rifle chamber, or even an AR chamber, a machine gun chamber is cut sloppy. So, you're going to get a lot more expansion out of your brass. So it's going to be a little more effort to resize it that first time. So you're going to want to full size it, even if you're shooting it in a different gun other than an AR. But so
use more lubricant, and don't worry about the lube dents. They'll pop right out when you fire the case.
Right. Yeah.
Don't get stupid, and you don't want 6 or 8 lube dents in your case. You got to use some common sense and judgment. But use plenty of lubricant. And matter of fact, I've been known to use pure lanolin. Thank you, Daryl. I've been known to use pure lanolin on 308 brass when I'm sizing it down for my M77. Why? Because it came out of an M60 machine gun.
Yep. And what lesson did you learn the hard way?
Use lots of lube. Yeah, that case is no good, Mike. It's got the metal's bent.
Yeah, this is what I want to show. This is the case from earlier. This is that machine gun brass. This is an ejector dent. It's not a normal dent. There is creasing in here, and this is junk.
At each end of the crease, if you notice, the metal's actually been broken.
So that's what you're looking for when you're looking for damage cases. This will go into the pile for demonstrations for later. But I wanted to show everybody that because I didn't really show that off earlier because I was just going to use it for the demonstration. So, but yeah, anytime you have brass where there's actually a crease like that one had, and that one had 2, you've now created an extreme weak spot, and the chances of it rupturing are better than 70%. So you don't need catastrophic case failures. So that's why you inspect your brass. So, and there are machine guns out there and there's even semi-autos that will put an ejector ding into the case, but it doesn't crease the case. It just puts a little dent in, pops out like a lube dent. That one is not that case. So that one is actually a hard dent. Could have been from the ejector. That's the only one I've seen like that so far. Could have been on the ground and somebody stepped on it. Another shoved like the rim of another case into it. There's lots of different things. So.
Well, I have a point here. It's not from the ejector. The ejector's in the bolt face. It would be from the ejection port where it slams hard against the wall of it, or on a case of an AR, it might actually slam against the deflector that's actually cast into the body of the AR on the rear end of the ejection port.
Mm-hmm. I should have said it gets dented during ejection. So would have been the correct way to say it. So. All right, folks.
It's not like you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. It's just, my ideas versus describing it. And so that's kind of why it's nice to have you guys on here too, is you are a great sounding board and kind of helping me refine.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Even that Jason guy.
Even Jason?
So, hey, Jason.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know that this feels really nice.
This is a G-rated show.
Hands off of it, you animal.
I lick it, it's mine. What Daryl said is it could become 300 AAC, 300 blackout, depending on where the dent is. It's possible. This one, it's too far down in the case. If it was up on the shoulder, yeah, but that one's too far down in the case to actually to trim down. So, and that reminds me, I think there was one thing that I said we would talk about tonight. So let me pull up the email quick. Sorry, I forgot about that.
While you're doing that, let me address Aaron's comment or question.
Yeah.
And he actually asked, while you're looking that up, Mike. So Aaron's question was, so is Dillon Super Swage the best option? It doesn't actually remove material, right? It just moves it. And Jason's exactly right. All it does is move metal around, just like the RCBS does. The Super Swage is said to be faster. I don't know. I've never used one. The Super Swage is said to be faster simply because you can jury rig it to actually eject the case with rubber bands. I've actually seen that set up on YouTube. And it's pretty slick. The guy's doing about 10 cases a minute. Let's see here.
I don't see it. Bear with me a second here. There's still quite a few new emails, and there's a few spams. So.
And there was my beautiful wife in this background.
Hello again.
I didn't see her with a skillet in her hand either, Jim.
That's because she already dented it over my head.
Ouch. Don't see the question right now, so I will have to add it to the show notes for next time. So. Anyway, so that's all we got for now. And Aaron says he doesn't think he can use the RCBS on his coax press. I don't know, but I'm not sure why.
Why?
Jim, you're muted.
Aaron's exactly right. You cannot use the RCBS setup on the coax press, which is why I will never give up my Elite Classic turret press, because it's the shell holder assembly on the coax. It eliminates the need for shell holders. It's a universal shell holder. You flop it over and it'll hold anything, but it will not hold the swaging button that you use to remove the primer crimp.
Aha. So then you just go out and buy a regular cheap press for that purpose.
Well, I'll tell you something, Mike. I watched you tonight tax your cast aluminum press pretty hard. You were actually bending it forward. I know it was wood and the stand and all that, but
well, in full honesty, this whole entire bench flexes. So because there's a chunk missing out of it on the bottom, so it's solid, but there comes a point in time where the whole entire bench moves. The top of the bench rotates. So that's what you're seeing, not the actual press.
Okay.
No.
But even so, that's why you want to use an O press or not. You don't want to use a light duty C press on something like this.
That would not work. I definitely wouldn't use the Lyman hand press I've got over there. Well, it's a press or you can reset it for a bench press, but it's not a O style, so I'm not going to use it for that because there's too much weakness in it. So, but yeah, get yourself a good.
But like we said, this is a one-time operation,
Yep.
And once you get it through, get that swage button up in that primer pocket, and you get your primer pocket radius properly, then Aaron, you can run it through your coax press till the cows come home.
Mm-hmm. So, hey Jason, does the mech press use regular shell holders?
Yes, it does.
Okay. That was the only other one I didn't know whether it did or not. So, all right, folks. Well, I think that's about it for tonight. The horse is now glue. Some people will get that joke. Some people won't. Jim, are you awake? Jim.
What? Oh, I was sleeping. Leave me alone.
Channel my inner Rickles. Anyway.
I knew who Don Rickles is. Sometimes that boy got nasty. Sorry. JH586SW. My wife says, we're all boring because she can't understand a word we're saying. It's like we speak a different language. We do. We're speaking reloaderese.
Yep. So, and the comment above it is actually kind of important. Daryl does use his breech lock Challenger all the time. So, but yeah.
Thanks, Daryl.
With the Swager, yeah.
Yep. So now, see, the thing is he just needs to teach her how to reload, and then she will understand. Right? And he will be able to spend more money on reloading equipment. And hers. Anyway, before we make more people broke, we should probably get off the air. I want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate everybody joining us. Hopefully, before next show, I will make a run out to Titan and pick up the new Lee press, and then do some Facebook Live from Titan. So,
Mike, I have a request.
What?
Could you find out if that new primer assembly will fit in my older? I think it's the XM style.
Yeah.
See if it can be retrofitted.
Let me look.
Okay. Thank you, sir. What do you mean by let you look? Oh, you mean right now?
Hey, kids. All right. So you're wondering about this one? That's what you're talking about?
XR.
Okay. Ooh, I hear primers in there. See primers. Oh, shiny. So, the answer to that question, yes, it will.
Yes, it will. What do you know?
Because this is my XR assembly. A little sloppy. But I don't know. Let me see here. Maybe not. Yeah.
Well, how much is that new priming system, Mike?
It moves at full travel, so.
Okay, how much does that new system cost?
That's a good question. The price that they had on it up at the business that went out of business was $25.95. So we'll take a look and see what Titan's got it for. 1958. And there is an update kit for $8.
Yay.
XR Ergo Prime tray update kit for $8. Lee part number 90794, and that's Titan Reloading. And that comes with the new tray and both the large and small primer feed assemblies. And it feels about the same as the... I'd imagine these bodies are probably the exact same.
They look to be identical.
So what I did, I didn't really show it on the camera because I wanted to make sure it would work first. But what I did, so this is how this one worked. This piece would slide in just like so. And it would slide up and lock like that. And then you would take your handle and your little, I don't know what you would, it's technical name, but push bar essentially. And this slides up in like this. Push a little bit. And then you get the handle on the little lever. Or on the little catch right there. Catch right there, if you can hear me now.
Crossbow.
And it's kind of a fine orchestra of movement to get it to do it.
Well, the other thing is too, Mike, you're handling live primers, so you have to be very careful. You don't want to spill them. Each one of those is a nickel. 4 cents, 3 cents, whatever. But the point is, you don't want to spill them and have them land, live primers laying around the garage.
Right. So the problem with this system is it's a two-step system. So what would happen is the primer would actually lift here. And then as you're holding it, you have to get it to slide up. And unfortunately, it wouldn't do that very well. And so that's why a bunch of people hated this thing. Because it would flip or it would twist, and it took a lot of effort to get it to work just right. So that was kind of the deciding factor. Overall, the idea was grand, but as you can see, there's a little channel. It's got to go along here, and then you can kind of see the two steps as I move this. Focus. There. You can see the two different pins, and you can see them move as I push the actuator. So it would come along the right, it would come along here, and then you would have to pick it up with this and then shove it into this one and then up into the case. So if you didn't have this thing at just the right angle, it was a horrible pain in the ass to use. So I figured out the nice angle to begin with and made it a lot easier. But this is much simpler. No finagling. I think the hardest thing on this one's going to be is putting primers in here because this is a lot smaller. I'll shoot some video and let you know. But I mean, this just slides here. And then it's just a simple feed down in and up you go. Done. So.
It actually looks like they went back to the old Lee Auto, the original Lee Auto Prime idea.
Well, it looks like there still is a pickup step in this, and I think what that's in there for
safety.
Safety. So you don't, if one blows, they don't all blow. So there is a little step in here still, but unlike that, where it was you have to have it at the right angle or it flies off the little step, this has actually got a little box that it kind of goes into and lifts it up. So it's contained a little better. And there's even a little plate that moves up and down.
Yep.
To barricade it. So you're getting even more safety in there. So if this primer pops, you've got that little steel plate there to keep it from igniting the rest.
That's one thing I've never had happen is a whole set of primers go off at once. I hope to God I never do.
Amen to that. So that answers that question, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Especially the part about the retrofit kit.
And for those of you who, and they've actually looked like it's got a kit for this to go on to the press. I don't know if it's the new press or if that's for the Pro 1000. It almost looks like it's for the Pro 1000. Okay, so used with 2006 newer breech lock Challenger presses, turret presses, classic cast turret press, and the classic cast press. It's a whole new design for the turrets and the single stage. So interesting setup. And then it kind of shows that. So they kind of did some work. Doesn't say anything about for your Pro 1000 and your beyond. So, but it looks like they also did the bench prime, redid that. So it uses the same setup. And then they also redid the Ergo Prime to use that. Ergo Prime's a little nicer on the hands to use if you're going to be doing a lot of hand priming. So. And then they actually make what's this? So they make a grip that actually attaches onto this to make it a little more comfy, so it's a little cushion or something. I don't know. I think I'd probably just use. I could come up with something myself, but it's not a bad price at $7. It looks like it attaches on. So I don't know. All sorts of little different goodies for the priming stuff. Kind of make it a little easier. And they sell more trays too, so you can have different. You can have trays. They also sell a full kit, which has the primer, the priming tool, the new auto prime, and then it also has the shell holders. So, because this does use shell holders, and they're separate and different from the newer style or the other style. So, I can show you what they look like. I happen to have them right here. So this is the auto prime shell holder kit. And the numbers are all the same. So a 4 there fits a 223, just like a 4 here fits a 223. The big difference is these are flat. They don't have that extra lip on them because they just slide into the channel on the auto prime. So, and I can kind of show you that channel. We'll take this apart quick and kind of show you that channel that they slide into. So as you look here, there's that little channel that they slide into. So that's why it doesn't use a standard shell holder for a press. And then as you look here, you can kind of see, you can see the piece of steel that sticks kind of floating in the air there. So yeah, it's definitely a nicer setup. So I'll have to give it some work and see how it goes before we ship it off somewhere. Compare it to the old Auto Prime. And we'll let you know. But I did find another thing to buy when I go out to Titan now. The retro kit. All right, folks. Well, I've babbled on enough. We've babbled on enough for tonight. So I want to take a time to thank everybody who tunes in live. Yeah, Daryl says the bench prime is even easier. So Jared's thought JH, any reloading supplier worth their salt would provide you with a receipt for the amount you want your wife to think you paid for it. Exactly. That should be mandatory. So, oh, she found his new chronograph. I missed all that. Ooh, that's rough. So, there you go. Yeah, and Daryl says the bench prime's even easier on your hand. Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to use. But some people don't have the bench space. However, on Titan's page, they do actually show it mounted to the plate for the Lee bench block that I have, the metal plates. So they actually bolt right onto that. So that'd be easy enough to swap out. I want to take time to thank everybody who, like I said, everybody who joins us every Tuesday night and joins us live. Everybody who downloads and listens to the podcast, shares the podcast, gives us feedback at 608-467-0308, like Russ from Alaska, who is on the ball every week giving us feedback. It's awesome. Just appreciate everybody that sends us emails, questions, letters, comments, everybody that says hi over on Facebook, whether it's on the Reloading Podcast page or the group. Different. Group is different settings, so you are not, people can know you're in the group, but they can't see what you're posting.
Yeah, it's semi-private.
Yeah. We haven't had any reason to take it secret. I think we ever will, hopefully, but that type of thing. So, and I want to thank the Patreons. I've said for a couple weeks now that I'm going to get that Facebook Patreon page up, group up. That's going to be tonight. As soon as I finish editing the podcast, while I'm waiting for it to upload, I'm going to create that. So I will send you emails. Patreons, if I don't send you the link or I don't invite you, then give me crap repeatedly and incessantly. So we'll get that up and running. So, and the rules are going to be really lax in that because it's for Patreons only, and we kind of want to, have a little more fun. So, but not that the podcast group isn't fun, but anyway, just want to, if you got any questions that you want to ask on the air, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com for 608-467-0308. Leave us a voicemail, send us a text. You can talk schmack via the text too. So, you can just send me a little text that says, haha, your butts, or something like that. It's great. Just like texting everybody else. If you are shopping Brownells or Amazon, swing over to firearmsradio.tv/reloading-podcast to hit the Amazon link, or just on the Reloading or on the firearmsradio.tv main page for the Brownells link. It doesn't cost you any extra, just helps the network. So looks like Jim's falling asleep, so we better get going here. So
I'm not asleep.
Maybe Jason is. He hadn't moved in a while either.
Nope. I think that boy's drunk.
I don't blame him.
On gin. That's why he's smiling so broadly. He's had 3 gin and tonics already.
Aha! That'll do it. Heck, he doesn't even realize he's still muted.
Yeah, he won't even unmute himself. Lousy bum. You slacker, Jason. He ain't going to either.
I don't know if I can unmute him or not. We were trying to unmute me at the same time.
Oh, I can unmute him. Awesome.
I get in trouble for clearing my throat, so I just keep it on mute so I don't have to listen to my whine like a puppy about it. Exactly.
If I didn't give you crap, you wouldn't think I care. Yes. As Aaron said, good night, guys. See you next week. Same bet time, same bet channel. Is he trying to say we're bat crazy? Maybe.
Perhaps.
Could be.
Does he even know what that reference is? Because he was born in 1982.
That's well before his time. But Batman's been on reruns, so it's possible.
He's a pup.
Yeah.
Tell that just for looking at his picture.
So here's an interesting bit of trivia about that. They actually shot when the Batmobile was coming out of the Batcave. We're going to deal with that later. Yes, that noise was all the shell holders falling out of the cute little case. Go over there for now. Bye-bye. They actually, because it was so tight of a fit for the Batmobile, they actually had to run that. They actually filmed it really slow, and then they sped it up. So that the Batcave.
Mm-hmm.
There's your bit of trivia for that. Anyway, on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Keep your powder dry.
And Squeeze. Don't yank that trigger.
Thanks, folks.